What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Betting Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And there's a massive card coming up this weekend with UFC 271 going down. The middleweight title is on the line. Israel Adesanya puts his title up for grabs against Robert Whittaker in a very important rematch in the division. In a division, there's another couple of fights, especially one big fight in this division coming up on this card as well, and one from last week, as we know. But to me, this fight is a very important fight because it could be the last massive fight in the middleweight division we have for a minute, because I don't see anything coming, to be honest, that is going to mess with Adesanya too much, unless it's Whittaker. I think Whittaker, if you don't agree he's the best, I think everyone will probably agree he's the second best middleweight in the world. So this is a very intriguing matchup, a very interesting one as well. And now, Brunson and Cannonier, they could separate themselves and become the next guy, and I mightn't agree with what I've just said come Monday morning, but we will see on that. Usually I'm finding it hard to pick bets recently, sometimes, especially when cards at the weekend. There's a lot of Contender Series people that we've never seen fight before, and we're like, I'm going back and watching 3 or 4 fights, and it's hard to get a look because they've never really fought that level of fighter before, and it's very hard to pull out bets. But for this, I usually come, my 4 bets and in my flyer. I actually have 5 bets and 2 flyers this week, but I'm going to limit myself down. I will give you those other ones just so I look good if they happen. But actually, you can see my record now as well. My guy John Brannigan has been keeping track of that. So if you go to the post on Sherdog.com where this is, you'll be able to see my record. I think I've done pretty well so far. I think it's okay, I could be wrong, but I think it's something like 12 out of 14, I think maybe a little bit less, actually. I think it's a good bit less, actually, but you'll be able to see it in the post anyway. I'm sure John will put it up here and give you my record anyway. But yeah, it's great to be doing this, and as I said all the time, please bet responsibly. The betting is fun while you can keep it fun, and make sure to keep it fun. Don't make it serious. Don't bet too much. Only bet what you can, and don't go overboard with it, because I wouldn't want it to be that at all. And as I always said, this is an MMA people's betting show, not a betting people's betting show. So that's the way I kind of want to keep it, and we keep it fun and we keep it light, and we'll try to make ourselves 20 quid of a weekend, and sure, if you do that, it'll be all well and good. So right, let's get straight into the bets here all together and talk about some of them. So the first bet I'm going for is in the main event. Now, I struggled, I suppose, for a bet in this, and the other fight's not as much, because I'm really torn on who I think will win. I think Robert Whittaker will change up a lot of things from the first fight. I watched back that fight not too long ago, but I'm going to watch it back again here as the week goes on, because I feel like sometimes you get caught up in all the hype. Sometimes you get caught up in all the talk. And this is probably my 4th podcast now talking about this fight. And even I get caught up in my own talk sometimes. But if you look at Robert Whittaker, right, coming into the first fight, what would a lot of people say he needed to do? He probably needed to put on pressure, go forward, and take it to Adesanya. Now, after that first fight, you're probably saying, well, if he does that again, he'll get clipped. Adesanya will counter him. It'll be a tough night for Robert Whittaker. So there's probably a part of that will play into Whittaker's game planning here. Whether that is him being a little bit more safe and standing back and standing outside of a lint, which is a dangerous thing against Adesanya, because he'll just jab you and leg kick you for the whole night and win a decision, which is something that maybe could happen. Or else Whittaker will try a very grapple heavy attack, and a very, I suppose, attack heavy attack in terms of the striking and going forward and going all out. Now, that last part there could lead him getting finished, but I think he'll either succeed. I don't think Robert Whittaker will fight a stupid game plan this time. I don't think he fought one last time, but I don't think he's a stupid guy. I think he will either try to keep himself safe on the outside and try to pick moments, or he will try to be wrestle heavy and grapple heavy and things like that. And if he succeeds with either of them, I think Adesanya will either win by decision or he'll win by decision. So I've gone for the fight to go to a decision, and that's -125. It's you get it around evens or closer to evens in some places. So I do think it'll go further this time. And I don't think that price would be as good if the first fight hadn't ended the way it was. I think because of the first fight, we're not the brightest people in the world, and we always think, oh, look, it went that way once, it'll go that way again exactly at the same time. Usually in these fights when there are rematches like that and people have a lot of time to prepare for other people, usually what happens is they kind of get paralysis by analysis. We know that phrase we've heard out through the years, and it is a more subdued, maybe not subdued fight, but a subdued match. And I think that's kind of what'll happen here. I don't think it'll be I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be an intriguing fight, but I do think it'll go to a decision. And I think it'll be a very interesting one. It'll be a close fight. That's my prediction for it. I think it'll be a close fight. So to go to decision, -125. Now, over the last few weeks, I haven't gone for, I think I've only gone for maybe one minus bet or one, but the rest of them are all plus bets here. So, yeah, I'm going for the big odds after it. But -125, Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker to go to a decision. Right, next bet here is Derek Brunson at +145 just to win straight up. And I was a little bit surprised when I was looking at these odds last night. Let me just check up on this again to make sure it's the same. Yeah, it's still +145. Obviously, this will change. I'm recording this a few days before the card. Obviously, a few days before the video itself will come out as well and things. So these fluctuate all the time and change all the time. So +145 at the moment here. I'm looking for at Derek Brunson. Now, this to me is a very much a pick'em fight with Brunson to me being the slight favorite. Now I might be wrong. I think Brunson's improvements maybe haven't been talked about or haven't been acknowledged as much as say some other people if they were to make a similar sort of improvement. And why they aren't is because we saw Derek Brunson as kind of a limited fighter for so long, and limited is a weird word, but like I would say maybe incomplete is the word. It felt like there was 5 or 6 things in Derek Brunson's game that if you added, he'd become a really, really good fighter. And I think he's added a lot of them. Like I think he's become kind of less wild, less open, more tactical, more technical, and just a better all-around fighter. And we've always seen with Derek Brunson, he has the power, he has the speed. He's a very, very intelligent fighter. I think working at Sanford MMA has shown that Derek Brunson is a much more maybe intelligent fighter than we gave him credit for, or that maybe where he was before was allowing to come out, because sometimes you can be an intelligent fighter and you can try, certain things or want to do certain things, or do what you're being told to do very, very well, but what you're being told to do is maybe not the right thing for you. And as the sport kind of adjusts to being a more technical sport, I think you have to become a more technical fighter. I think the same probably goes for Derrick Lewis, which we'll talk about in a second. But I definitely think that's what's happened with Brunson. Now, I think Cannonier's probably done a similar sort of thing, coming down in weights and, using his size a little bit more, but also becoming more technical and, just being a better fighter than he was before. I think the one thing with Cannonier, right? The thing with Brunson is he'll show up every day. Brunson, I find it very hard to remember a Brunson fight where, sometimes Brunson has been beaten by better guys, especially back when he was a less complete fighter than he is today. Absolutely. But I don't think he ever showed up and he wasn't fighting to his optimal, if you get me like that. He always shows up. I don't think you could say the same for Cannonier. And maybe that's just the idea I have of him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe other people would disagree with me. But in a big spot like this as well, I think that is something you have to talk about. You are the third below the championship fight in your weight class. If you win, you're probably getting a title shot. I think most people would probably say that. I don't think Strickland did enough last week to earn it. So you probably are. That's pressure. That is a pressure spot to be put into. I don't think that'll phase Brunson too much. I think for Cannonier it might a little bit. And I don't think that'll be a major factor in this, but it could be a little factor, especially early. I think this will go to a decision. And if you lose the first round because of that, that's massive. That is massive. I think against someone like Derek Brunson who'll keep going all day, I could see Brunson winning maybe the first and third here. So, I'm going for Derek Brunson. I think that plus 145 price is just a little bit too much, and I'm definitely going for that. So Brunson plus 145 straight up. The next one, this is the sort of bet, and this is one, right, that sometimes new fighters coming through, I don't think the betting lines have caught up with them. If you get me, like I remember backing Conor McGregor at 5-1 to win by KO against Marcus Brimage. Now that line for sure hadn't caught up. But to me, Casey O'Neill to win inside the distance at plus 200 is a line that has not caught up. I think, look, Roxanne Modafferi has been a very, very good fighter. Sean Al-Shadi wrote a great piece about her, and she's down through the years. She's been really, really great, but she's past her prime now. We all know that. Casey O'Neill is the best young fighter in that division by a country mile. She went in there in her last fight against Antonina Shevchenko, and you know, what she did in that fight, I watched a bit of that literally just before we started here, and you can talk about, you know, what happened in the end, and you can talk about the whole goings of the fight or whatever, but the fact that she was able to manhandle, or womanhandle is what you want to put it, Antonina Shevchenko for parts of that, but in not even just in like the grappling, which can happen. Although Shevchenko, she looked like a pretty good grappler against Ariane Lipski when they had that fight. But I just think the way she was able to out athlete her, I suppose, in the striking and in the grappling was phenomenal. And the thing as well, right? When you're fighting someone like Antonina Shevchenko, who is we know she's Valentina's sister, she can strike. She's becoming a more well-rounded fighter all the time, absolutely. But she's a Muay Thai striker. When you're Casey O'Neill, right, and you're obviously very good on the ground, you're probably thinking, okay, she's going to take it to the ground, and she did a couple of times. But there was absolutely no fear of the striking realm for Casey O'Neill, and that's what I would fear if I was Roxanne Modafferi coming in here, because if you're fighting Casey O'Neill, you probably have to make her respect your striking. You're probably going to have to make her stop coming forward at a rate of knots by landing something big on her. Now, Shevchenko wasn't really able to do that. And if she wasn't, I don't think Roxanne Modafferi will be as well. And I think this will be come forward, Casey O'Neill going hell for leather, and I think she'll get the takedown. I think she'll probably hurt Roxanne pretty badly on the feet, and maybe get a TK or maybe get a submission. That was the one thing I was looking at. We look at maybe the prices for the KO and the submission in a second, and there were a couple of the flyers I was looking at. But plus 200 just to win by either submission or KO, I think that's... Bet responsibly, but I think that's free money. Like, you know, if you want to turn your tenner into what would it be, 30? I think that's a pretty good way of doing it this weekend. That's definitely my bet of the weekend. Plus 200 to win inside the distance for Casey O'Neill. And poor Roxanne Modafferi, it's a bad way to go out for her, I suppose, in the final fight of her career. But you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles. MMA waits for no man or woman, so I don't think it'll wait for her. And I think Casey O'Neill's power, pressure, and ability will just be too much for poor old Roxy at this stage of her illustrious, fantastic career. All respect to Roxy, she's been a legend of the game. Fair play to her. So, but yeah, that's my bet. Right, my last of my 4 bets. And then I get to my extras. I'm going for Renato Moicano to win by decision. That's plus 215. He's obviously fighting Alexander Hernandez, another guy who, at his best, I think would probably win this fight, but does he always turn up at his best? You know, I don't think he does. Now, if you're looking at the betting straight up, Moicano is still favoured, and he's plus or minus 170. I don't like that too much. I'd have Moicano slight favoured, even though, as I just kind of contradicted myself there, I don't think Hernandez always turns up at his best, and I think someone like Moicano is a tougher matchup for him, especially going to the second and third round. I think Hernandez will come out here and win the first round, right? And that, if you're betting in play, bet after the first round and then bet Moicano to win. I think Moicano will definitely win the third. I just think that's the way it'll go, and it'll come down to the second. So to go plus 205 to bet on the second round, basically, for me, now fights can go very much different ways, as everyone listening to this knows. But that's kind of my prediction on it, my take on it. I think Moicano will have enough to stay in there. Now, against Hernandez, maybe he won't. Maybe the Hernandez first round KO is the bet to go. And I look up that as well when I'm going through the rest of the odds at the end of this show, or at the end of giving my bets. But I just like Moicano's technique. I like his ability to keep people at the end of the jab at times. If he can be a little bit defensive, especially in the first 7 to 8 minutes of the fight, and then open up maybe a little bit when Hernandez gets tired, I think that could be the key for him. And now maybe he's not able to do that. Maybe Hernandez is able to break through and beat him. But yeah, that's the way I think that fight will go. Whenever I think of that fight, whatever way I break it down, apart from maybe Hernandez landing a big shot early, or maybe, Moicano getting a submission or something like that, I just see him. I see Hernandez coming forward, Moicano kind of slipping off a little bit, maybe coming inside body lock, putting him against the cage, and I see long periods of maybe inactivity. So I don't know. This is one of those fights that it'll either be quick and early or it'll go to a decision, I think. And I'm going with the decision one, and I'm going for Moicano to win it. I just think maybe there's something in the betting that I'm not seeing, why he's like minus 170 is not a massive favourite, but it's a big enough favourite in this sort of fight. And I'm going for him to win the decision plus, plus 215. So, yeah. Right. This is where I had my biggest trouble now. Picking my flyer of the week. So the first flyer I was going to go for, which I'm not going to go for. And I've kind of contradicted myself on this as well, because I said earlier with Brunson, I think he'll probably win a decision. But I also, like watching back some Brunson fights, I just feel like he's very, very dangerous. He's very dangerous. And I went back last week and I watched Hernandez versus Cannonier. And Cannonier sometimes can leave himself very open, even against someone like Hernandez who... on the feet, as we saw at the weekend, he's not exactly the best fighter in the world. And Cannonier still had a few shots, and he can still get himself into a little bit of danger. And Brunson by a KO TKO plus 600 was one I was looking at. Now I'm not gone for that now. Ignore that bet. But Brunson by KO TKO plus 600. I'm not giving that bet. I haven't given that bet. That bet has not been given out by me. But maybe, and if it does win, I'll be coming back and screen recording. But the bet I have gone for, and I don't know why. Honestly, I did this last week with Hernandez, right? I kind of convinced myself that Hernandez would win, right? And I was completely and utterly wrong, right? We could all acknowledge that. We're all wrong sometimes, especially with betting. Sometimes we get too greedy. Sometimes, this guy's going to win by submission. Well, no, he's not. And the flyer is about getting greedy. So in future, I'll try not to do that with my normal bets, right? My top 4 bets. But with the flyer, I'm going to get more greedy, I think, because they don't win anyway, usually. So let's get greedier. So today I'm going for Tuivasa by KO in round 1 at plus 650. Now, this is a bet throughout the week, from doing my Severe MMA podcast on Sunday to recording the preview show and all of this on Sherdog here and this, I've kind of convinced myself that Tuivasa is winning this fight. Look, I just think it'll be a striking match. I really do. I think these lads are just going to strike with each other. Maybe Derek Brunson will take him down. And if Derek goes to take him down, I think Derek will end up winning the fight. But I just feel like both of them are going to back their power, basically. They're both going to go for it in terms of power. They're both going to try to land big shots. And whenever that happens, what was the fight I said it with last week? Oh, I can't remember. I said it on this betting show, I'm pretty sure. But it was the Erosa fight, the Erosa-Peterson fight. And it turned out to basically be right. But whenever two lads are going hell for leather in a fight like this, you can, if you want to pick the guy with the bigger power, absolutely. Who's the bigger power in this? I think it's close, honestly. Tuivasa hits really hard. I always go for the guy with the better technical striking. And I think that's Tuivasa. I think he's a better boxer than Derek Lewis. If it was a boxing match, who would win between them? I'd say Tuivasa. Now, this is not a boxing match. This is an MMA fight. It's completely different, absolutely. But sometimes these fights come down to that. And sometimes they come down to who's able to slip a little bit more. Look what he did against what's his name, Greg Hardy. He was able to slip out of a shot and land a beautiful counter. He was able to take a shot as well. Tuivasa was a limited fighter for a while, but I think he's improved an awful lot. And that boxing and that power is really, really good. Look, you could say the exact same for Derek Lewis, and he's improved even more. But this is a massive opportunity for Tuivasa. Look, it's a flyer. It's a flyer bet. Don't get me wrong. If you were to give me straight up, I'd still go for Tuivasa. I've convinced myself. I have convinced myself. I will probably be wrong. I will tell you this right now. But I'm going for Tuivasa by TKO KO in round 1 at plus 650 for my flyer of the week. And I leave it at that. My other bet that I was going to give that I didn't go for is Haqparast at plus 119. He is now, and I'll go through the other bets, but I'll start with this. I just think that I thought he'd be favoured, honestly, against Bobby Green. Now, Bobby Green's a very good fighter, and it's definitely an even matchup. But I really did think Haqparast would be favoured just because of what he has done over the last few years, and maybe with the prospect that he was. I don't think he's fulfilled it as much as people, me especially, thought. I think he's very, very good. But if he can get back to that, if he can get back to the fighter he is, I think Haqparast's top level is bigger than Bobby Green's top level, if you want to put it that way. But I don't know if Haqparast is going to get to that top level. And Bobby Green is a very good fighter. Like, he's an even fighter now, if you want to put it that way. And where he wasn't before, he fights well every time now. Where I've said it with a few different people on this, like Hernandez and others. Sometimes they're not the fighter you expect, and sometimes they don't show up the fighter you expect. But I think Bobby Green does now. But look, Haqparast not one of my bets. But if I was looking at another bet, if I wanted to put in a fifth bet and forget about the flyer, if you don't disagree with my my Tuivasa madness, I like Haqparast plus 119. Some of the other bets, well. Also, there's another few cards as well. LFA have a card, and Fury FC have a card as well, with some names. Juicy Formiga has a fight there. He's minus 200 against Felipe Bunes. So if you're looking for another bet from somewhere else, I think Bobby Moffat is on one of these cards as well. Yeah, he is. He's on. He's a minus 500. Favourite there as well. So there's some names there. Boston Salmon as well, who we saw in the UFC before. He's minus 220 there. He's fighting Jake Heffernan. So maybe not much value on the old UFC names and things. But there are other fights this weekend as well if you're looking for other bets. But let's run through some of the bets on the UFC card. Adesanya is minus 270 to just win straight up, plus 230 for Robert Whittaker in that main event. The over-under a round and a half, I don't think that's going to happen. Is plus 320. I would definitely stay away from that. The over 4.5 rounds is another one I was looking at, minus 135. Similar enough bet, to the decision bet. Adesanya to win by KO like he did the first time, plus 145. I think that's very low. Honestly, I think that's very, very low. Whittaker to win the same way, up plus 550 to win by KO TKO. I don't think there's going to be a submission here. Adesanya plus 2,000, plus 1,600 to win by submission for Whittaker. Adesanya by decision, plus 170. Now, that was the other bet I was looking at in this. I went for it just to go to a decision, just to kind of give it that extra bit of backing. There's not too much of a difference between those. So, yeah, those are kind of the main bets there. It's a difficult fight for me. Honestly, it's a difficult fight. I probably think Adesanya will win it, but yeah, it's a difficult one for me to pick in some of them. Derek Lewis is minus 180 and plus 155 for Tuivasa. Honestly, I think that's just about right, and I think that's the respect Tuivasa deserves for the improvements he's made over the last while. The under 2.2 rounds is minus 415, which tells you all you need to know. The under 1.5 rounds is minus 175, which also tells you all you need to know, I suppose. The Lewis KO is minus 135. That's mass a bit of madness there. Tuivasa by submission plus 2,000, plus 2,800 for Lewis by submission. Tuivasa just to win straight up KO is plus 250. There was another one I was looking at, but not big enough for the flyer, so I went in the first round. Lewis just win inside the distance, minus 140, plus 215 for Tuivasa. Probably avoid those and probably go for the KO. I don't think there's going to be a submission here. But if you fancy the fight, to go a little bit longer, Lewis by decision is plus 675. That's a pretty good bet. That's a pretty good bet. Tuivasa plus 500 as well to win by decision. The fight to go to decision is plus 375. So, that's not bad. That's not bad. Maybe it will. Sometimes these heavyweight fights, if they don't get the knockout early, they can turn into that. So, And then Derek Brunson, as I mentioned earlier, plus 145. Jared Cannonier is minus 170. Few interesting ones here, as I mentioned. Brunson plus 600 here to win by KO. He's plus 700 in some places as well. Cannonier is only plus 125, which is, I don't think that's great, to be honest. The submission, both big, plus 2,000 to win by submission for Cannonier, plus 1,200 for Brunson. Yeah, maybe they're seeing Brunson getting a few takedowns, which I absolutely could see here as well. Brunson to win inside the distance, plus 450. So, yeah, some interesting ones there as well. Kyler Phillips minus 410 plus, minus 425 plus 325 for Marcelo Rojo. Bobby Green minus 139 plus 119 for Nasrat Haqparast. That, to me, could be fight of the night. That's a very, very fun one. Andrei Arlovsky's on the card as well. He's a minus 139 favourite over Vandera, who is 119 in the plus direction. Casey O'Neill, a big minus 400 favourite over the legend Roxanne Modafferi. Another fight I love, Alex Perez minus 400, plus 300, Matt Schnell. I think that's a little bit of a closer fight than that as well. I have a lot of respect for Matt Schnell. If I was going for a straight up just winner flyer of the night, I'd probably go for Matt Schnell, honestly. I believe in him. I know I've said it before, I'm picking Perez to win this fight, but I believe in Matt Schnell's ability and his rise. And maybe this is not the time, but I think over the next couple of years, Matt Schnell will do better than I think a lot of people think. I really like him as a fighter. Maxim Grishin even is, let me just look at it here, minus 170 plus 145 is the muscle-bound William Knight. Martinez is plus 250 against Ronnie Lawrence, minus 300. Alexander Hernandez, as we mentioned earlier on, is plus 145, minus 170 for Renato Moicano. Carlos Ulberg, minus 255 against Fabio Charant, plus 215. AJ Dobson, minus 110 against Jacob Malkoun, minus 110 as well. So a pick-em fight there. Douglas Silva de Andrade, plus 170. Morzarov, minus 200. Jeremiah Wells, then is minus 235 against plus 200 Mike Mathena. And then the other two fights I don't think are happening here on best fight odds. So yeah, some very interesting lines there, some very interesting fights. My bets again, I'll give it to you, the fight, the main event, Adesanya versus Whittaker, to go to a decision of minus 125. Derek Brunson to win a plus 145. Casey O'Neill wins inside the distance, plus 200. Renato Moicano wins by decision, plus 215. And Tuivasa wins by TKO KO in round one at plus 650 over Derek Lewis. All right, I will leave it there. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, this is on Spotify as well. Go over there and find it, Sherdog Podcasts. If you're listening on Sherdog Podcasts, go on over, smash the like button, hit subscribe, leave your comments below. Let me know what bets you're doing. Comment below. If you're watching even this on Twitter or whatever, at Sean Sheehan BA, let me know your bets for the week, and I'll give you a reply, and I'll let you know what I think of them. So we will leave it at that. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.